All right, so today we're going to dig into this idea called project paradigm. And what's really wild is that it comes from a student essay written all the way back in 2013. I mean, this was years before generative AI was the talk of the town, and this paper was already asking these huge questions about how AI could change not just what we do, but who we are at our core.
And it all kicks off with this really provocative question. How could artificial intelligence actually alter your reality? And we're not talking about, a sci-fi movie with robots. We're talking about something way more personal, changing the very beliefs and habits that make you you. So, yeah, let's dive in.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for this. First up, we're going to look at how our beliefs even get formed in the first place. Then we'll do a quick dive into the history of persuasion and how technology kind of sneaks in and influences us. And finally, we'll get to the main event, this whole project paradigm idea and how an AI could become a kind of personal mirror for self-discovery.
All right, so let's start at the very beginning with the foundation of the author's whole argument. How do we even form our beliefs? I mean, where does our worldview actually come from?
So the essay breaks it down into this really simple three-step process. First, when we're kids, right, we just soak up the traditions and values from our community. That's step one, tradition. Then we move into this acceptance phase, where we learn the rules, figure out how to act to fit in. But then, as we become adults, we start seeing other viewpoints, and that leads to step three, questioning our own beliefs.
But here's the thing, and it's a really important point the author makes. For a lot of us, that third step, the questioning part, it just stalls out. Life happens, right? We get busy with work, totally preoccupied with the day-to-day grind, and we might not see how stopping to examine our own personal philosophy is going to help pay the bills. So what happens is our belief systems can kind of get locked in place.
And that's a huge deal, because shaping beliefs isn't just some personal, internal journey. Oh no, it has a long, long history of being used as a tool of power. Let's look at a couple of historical examples from the essay to see exactly how this is played out.
So the author points way back to the ancient world. Before the 3rd century BC, most societies were polytheistic. They had lots of different gods. But as emperors started wanting to unify all these scattered tribes and centralize their own power, they encouraged this big shift towards monotheism. Think about it. One religion, one unified people, one all-powerful emperor. It's a brilliant, if a bit cynical example of how belief systems can be used as tools for organization.
And for a much more modern and frankly chilling example, the essay highlights what the Nazis did. They systematically took the writings of well-known, respected scientists and philosophers and just twisted them. They mended them, as the quote says, to make it seem like these great thinkers actually supported Nazism. It was a calculated way to make a radical ideology seem legitimate. Now, influence isn't always so direct or, malicious. Sometimes it's the technology we use every single day that subtly shifts our values and our perception of reality, often without us even realizing it's happening.
Just think about this incredible Hopi Indian prophecy. We're talking long before the telephone was even a dream. They envisioned a cobweb built around the earth and that people would talk across this cobweb. I mean, can you imagine hearing that back then? It must have sounded like pure magic or maybe a message straight from the heavens. And yet, here we are. That prophecy is literally our daily reality. We don't think twice about picking up the phone or logging onto the internet. They're not magic. They're just necessities. And that's what technology does so well. It takes something that once seemed mystical and makes it totally mundane, changing our values and what we even consider possible along the way. Okay, so all of this brings us to the absolute core idea of the essay. If history and technology have the power to shape our beliefs from the outside, what if we could use a new kind of technology to help us understand our beliefs from the inside? See, the author makes a really bold claim here. They argue that the single best use for artificial intelligence isn't just about automating our jobs or creating cool entertainment. No, its highest purpose could be to help us become masters of ourselves by making us aware of all those invisible lines connecting our daily habits to our deepest beliefs. And that, right there, is Project Paradigm. The concept is an AI that's designed to analyze your personal data, not for some big corporation, but for you, to show you the hidden patterns that run your life, and ultimately help you achieve whatever goals you set for yourself. Okay, so that sounds pretty cool in theory, right? But what would this actually look like in practice?
How could an AI really work as a kind of personal mirror? The way the essay frames this is just so powerful. We hear all the time about governments and companies using our data for surveillance or to sell us stuff. So the essay asks this brilliant question. What if we flipped that on its head? What if we turned that lens around and used our own data for our own self-improvement? The process would basically work in 4 steps. First, the AI just observes. It analyzes all your data, your calendar, your messages, maybe your health stats. Step 2, it starts to identify correlations. It might notice something like, hey, on the days you chat with friends late at night, your sleep quality really takes a nosedive. Third, it projects that forward, showing you what could happen if that pattern keeps up. And then finally, armed with that totally objective insight, you're empowered to modify your own behavior. You're in the driver's seat. So you might be thinking, how is this any different from a self-help book? Well, a book gives you generic advice, right? This AI would give you solutions tailored specifically to your life. And let's be honest, it could know things about you that you might not even admit to another person, like a therapist. Over time, as it successfully helps you make changes, your trust in its insights would just naturally grow. And that's really where the MAME comes from. The ultimate goal of Project Paradigm is to display all this information about you in tons of different ways until it finds the one paradigm, the one framework, the one way of seeing yourself that just clicks with your personal worldview and gives you the power to grow. Which brings us to the final and maybe most important question of all. It's a question that was posed in this essay way back in 2013, but it feels more relevant today than ever. If an artificial intelligence could truly know you better than you know yourself, would you trust it?